With each passing year, the problems that life loves to give you increase in number and with a greater amount of stress attached to them. At the beginning of this year, it was just only like... Then it turned into... And now it turned into...
Ja, det är lekker. Det tycker ben je doen. Dat is een holiday. Maar joh.
I want to believe the "it only gets better" phrase. I really do, but it's just the complete opposite. What was once just a short-term obsessive-compulsive disorder now transformed entirely into a diagnosed minor depression. More importantly, however, the efforts I have made to improve myself in as many aspects of life as possible once meant better long-term happiness, relationships, and results. Now they become almost futile. And this futility that I have experienced time and time again that ran my year of 2019 is the central focus of this video. Now, a few thoughts may run through your head. You're throwing yourself a pity party. If that's how you want to look at it, I don't blame you. I simply need some place to vent. You need to move on and get over it. If that were possible, and I really wish it was so, you wouldn't hear any complaints from me. You're feeling sorry for yourself. Yes, but I feel sorry for the younger, hopeful person I once was. And then the thought that I feel may most be common: other people have it worse. Be grateful for what you have. If my only problem was focusing on getting good grades in college or trying to be famous for something, I don't think I would be having the feelings that I'm having right now, but I do. Ideally, we don't want any problems, but that's just unrealistic. Of course, I'm grateful for having a loving family. Of course, I'm grateful for not worrying about surviving hunger. Unfortunately, comparing my problems to anything else doesn't really solve anything for me. So, here I am. I started off this year with minor OCD. That revolved around worrying myself to death about what would happen if I did something that would injure my knee for weeks. I won't describe what I did, but ultimately nothing came out of it, and then the disorder just vanished, with very little chance of relapse, if any. I became mostly issue-free, and I felt that I could enjoy myself from time to time, no matter what I did. I'd guessed that when my OCD went away was at the end of February. This was around the same time that I have submitted near countless summer internship applications. A number of said applications have already been rejected, but I figured one of them had to see me as qualified enough to be an intern at their company. I'll explain the significance of this later. Until the first week of May, nothing major happened. I was still pretty content with how things were going. Then finals exams happened. I had studied to the point where I basically sacrificed some of my social time with everyone around me. No biggie, I saw that as normal. And just as a side note, I hate how in some majors you are required to unreasonably stress for finals exams, because there are many students who have to take as many as 4 exams in 2 days. That's just mental suicide, but the professors don't seem to mind, so I guess that society doesn't seem to mind. I really don't see how that resembles any kind of work in a real world. The only vague example I can give is multiple projects needed to be complete at a deadline given on a short notice. Otherwise, what the hell would I know? I'm not a complete adult just yet, but I digress. Then, when came the time to take 2 exams in particular, oh man, did my confidence shatter. The quick lesson I learned is that no matter how much you study, nothing will prepare you for the questions presented on some exams. Of course, I answered to the best of my ability, but I left the classroom with hopelessness in the voids of my mind that were once filled with optimism. Now, there's the curve that has yet to be accounted for, but even then I was still hopeless. How bad would a C grade look at my transcripts full of high marks, I thought. I'm not a perfectionist by any means, but I figured, not so reasonably, that a C would hamper my chances of an internship, or that it could deal unspeakable damage to my academics. After the finals week, I packed my room and went home. For the following week, that week being the second week of May, those exams were all I could think of. Then, those thoughts of the exams morphed into a mindset that I maintain to this day. Most of my efforts will be in vain. All of your work will be for naught eventually. Sounds weird, doesn't it? Well, a few things happened that conformed to my newfound belief. First thing, Remember the internship applications I mentioned? Many of the companies did not qualify me for a position, the rest did not respond. What did I assume the companies that did not respond do? Took my resume and cover letter and tossed them straight into the trash. Probably laughed at what I wrote too. Second thing, I reflected on the favors I've done for numerous people throughout the semester. When I asked for a favor to be done by a few of them, they implicitly hinted that they were metaphorically handing me a treasure chest of gold. The subtle tone that they use, the body language, basically told me that they take other people's time for granted. Never mind how I helped them not fail a course or gave them some money for a weekend party or something like that. Third thing, the grades of the finals came in. It turns out that my spring semester was the time of my best GPA in my college career, but the mental damage had already been done. What's the point in good grades if it didn't yield some major result? All that studying, and all I get is disappointment and depression. I won't say that the futility of hours-long studying gave me depression. The efforts are meaningless mindset is the source of depression, which I still have as I just mentioned. Now, you may say, your studying wasn't for nothing though, you didn't fail, right? Well, you're right and wrong. Right because I indeed did not fail. Wrong because I studied a material that was supposed to be on the exams, but presented on the exams in a way that was almost impossible to comprehend, if that makes sense. Which basically boils down to my hours of studying wasted, or, in my mindset, my studious efforts were for naught. As for the futility of strengthening relationships, doing favors was simply only that. No, hey, how about you come with us, or come do this with us, or anything of the sort. I feel like some of my relationships only hold because I can be used. As for results, well, my efforts in netting an internship were wasted. My futile efforts in general do not result in the happiness I perceive in others. Of course I'm happy of how others around me enjoy themselves no matter what. It's just that anything I do seems to result in disappointment a lot. Because of my current mindset, I can never enjoy things for too long, for I always believe that there will be something ahead that will be a problem, and by then I will be down in the dumps trying to make sense of everything and how to move forward. I can make efforts to remedy the situation, but either the problem seemingly makes itself more difficult to counteract my efforts, or there would be another problem not so far away that would rear its ugly head. This kind of scenario is what I have been dealing with from this past summer to this day, and it will most likely continue in the future for weeks, months, maybe years to follow. Now by the time of this video, I will have been home away from school after having completed another semester of college. The grades of this most recent semester, even better than that of the spring semester. But what does that matter to me? I still have yet to secure an internship, I still have yet to secure any sort of happiness in the future. The next group of people for whom I've done favors, many of them don't seem keen on returning the favor in my time of need. I'm not liked any more than I was before. I'm not wanted any more than I am needed. As in, people want me to do things for them, but that doesn't mean they want me around in a social gathering. Overall, I'm just as unhappy as I've been. I am just as depressed as I have been. One last minute point I need to add here. The feeling of efforts being in vain doesn't really apply to my making YouTube videos or streaming. Those are the only times I don't feel that my time is being wasted. Being a content creator of sorts has become a hobby I very much enjoy, no matter if I ever become large enough to attract some sort of audience, assuming I'm headed that direction at all. At this point, it's the only time I can temporarily relieve myself of the heavy feeling of hopelessness. Of course, I hate how there's no other way to actually enjoy myself, but for now, this'll have to do. And there you have it. After my OCD was gone, I continued to strive forward with my efforts, only to have a week of finals exams and a passage of summer to do away with the optimism I once had. Currently, I struggle with minor depression, consisting of the mindset of futility, seeing as how my efforts at first gave me self-improvement, but now seemingly breaks down constantly. As a result of all this, I sometimes see myself as useless, seeing how others are able to do the same things I do and reap the rewards I fail to get. I won't be able to see how I can get myself out of this mindset, if at all. The only thing I can do is to keep moving forward. It's just that I can't hope for good things anymore. I can't be optimistic about anything. I always expect the worst to happen, and I become genuinely surprised when things actually do work out well, which is rare. That's the end of my personal report of 2019. If you have any similar stories to share, please feel free to leave it in the comment sections below. Here's to 2020 and the new challenges that await. If I don't post another story or rant like this, I will see you next year. Omega out.